Hello, hello, good afternoon,
Hello.
good morning, or good evening, wherever you are. We're back with another live session. We had our last live session quite some time ago, actually, and I hope everyone is doing well after Christmas and New Year's and everything else. And of course, the last Omicron variant that's sweeping the world everywhere. But from the safe of our home, I hope at least something, we are now back with a new discussion with Envat Andreasen. Hello, Envat. Welcome back for another discussion on conducting, of course.
Hello.
And
Of course.
well,
What else?
last time, yeah, sorry, there's always a little bit of a delay that I forget to take into into account. Last time, and I think the time before, actually, we went through quite a few different pieces, and a couple of times ago, 2 sessions ago, we went through some very interesting and very well, difficult, yes, contemporary works. And one of the things that came up from the past sessions was, everybody was really interested in these type of things, but also in how to approach this music and how to approach different technical aspects of it, including meter changes, tempo changes, these kind of things, especially when it comes to meters that not only change from one bar to another, but also for meters that change inside the same bar, because they can be read in different ways. I mean, the meter itself doesn't change, but 5/8 can be read as a 2+3 or as a 3+2. And so forth goes for the all other mixed meters that you can encounter: 7/8, 8/8, even 9/8 can be read in different ways depending on how the music is written and how the composer perceives it. So we thought that this time we to sort of tackle these questions that came up, we took a couple of examples from the music of Bartók and the music of Stravinsky. And we can start with the first example from Bartók. And what I would like to ask Envat right away is, let's take the first example that we have, and how do you normally approach this kind of music, this a page like this one? Everybody can see the pages now. It's now on screen for everybody, and as you can see, it starts with 8/8, then it goes to 12/8 the bar after, and then 8/8, 7/8, and then it's 4. But already in the 8/8, you have some sort of dotted bar lines that can give you an indication of some kind. So now I'm going to leave it to Envat to take it over on this. Please.
Well, straight on the subject. The music for strings, celesta, and percussions of Bartók, written on 1936. The piece, please have a look very, very, very carefully. We have a bar indication 8/8, and then there is a quaver, then bar line, then the phrase is going through. But do you see something very interesting? Means that that's upbeat is normally not a bar 8/8, but 7/8. Because if you have a look through of number 5 of this score for the third and fourth violin, the bar is 7/8 with an upbeat, yeah, and then 8/8, which is exactly the same musical phrase, but a quint higher. So this is first thing to know. This is not a mistake, but Bartok wrote it like that because it's easier. But the conductor has to know that it is really, in reality, is an upbeat, and before it there is a rest. Until the end of first part. Yeah.
Yeah, if I may interject one thing here, because that's was also one of my first observations. If you take it from a pretty, let's say, a purely technical point of view,
Yeah.
you know, the 8/8 bar. Let's forget for 1 second the upbeat, but the 8/8 bar is clearly marked in 3 plus 3 plus 2, as in its internal subdivisions of 8 notes, right? So you would end up having basically 3 patterns, of which the last beat is shorter than the first 2. The point being that, but if you look at your 7/8 bar, so the one before number 5, that one, the last beat is 3/8 notes, comprises 3/8 notes. So I think here you have a choice to make, and that concerns the upbeat itself, because the is your upbeat going to be an upbeat of 2 8 notes over 3 8 notes, and that would actually depend on I think how you read the phrase, which actually goes into what you were saying, because if you actually see the whole phrase and go to the end of it, then you take that upbeat as part of the phrase, and then automatically it becomes 3 8 notes. If you don't, and you only take into consideration the very first bar, aside from the upbeat, the very first complete bar, then it would actually fall into doing it into a 2 8 notes, which might be okay for the orchestra in terms of understanding when to start, but from a musical point of view and from a conducting point of view, there's a great deal of difference in trying to understand where the phrase is going and how it is constructed. And these type of analysis and these type of things come into your technique and into the decisions that you make technically, from a technical point of view.
The thing that before to choose which bar, how it will be shown, and technically, first you must understand, of course. Yeah. This is my understanding, because you see the phrase is beginning in pianissimo. The la bemol has a articulation like this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tarira, tarira. It means that in this tempo, 116, between 116 and 112, circa, nearly, it's not slow, it's fast. It is fast for a quaver, of course. So I will not give you right now solutions. I will just ask questions as I'm studying the score. Just questions. Yeah? Questions are why, how will I understand what is on each note, each bar, and then we will choose the gesture without first, second is impossible. So
I agree. I agree. Actually, I think that's a very good point. Into let me turn this into a slightly more self teaching, so to speak, thing, in the sense that uh, no, because this is a question that comes up even indirectly from students usually. How do you approach this type of things when you have this type of music? So the point is actually very valid. Ask yourself questions. Start with asking yourself questions, and then once you have an answer for those questions, then you can proceed further. This is pretty much what analyzing a piece means. You ask yourself questions: where is the phrase going? How is it constructed? How is the bar inside the phrase constructed? Is it, I don't know, 4 bars phrase? Okay, let's reduce it to, I don't know, is it a 4 bar? Is it a 2+2 in a 4 bar phrase? What happens inside one single bar? And how does one bar relate to the other, to the next one? Rhythmically, harmonically.
What I'm trying to explain.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes? What I'm trying to explain. With what I'm trying to explain, yeah. Because my lecture of score is simply not the same with your lecture of the score or the third person, fourth person. Okay, I'm just giving my point of view, just giving, but asking questions. So I can I go through in my explanation?
Yeah, of course. Yes.
Yeah, of course. Okay, the first bar. There is, as you said, bar indications with points. Yeah, and if you have a good look, it's just the phrase until the rest, and then it's again a beat for the second phrase. For the second phrase. So let's see everything together. Everything together. It's very difficult. How to beat this first phrase? As Bartok wrote it, it's in 3. Yeah?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1. Then the phrase is beginning from sol. I read notes as written. Sol to la bemol.
Where is the sol to la bemol?
12/8. What?
I'm sorry. Are you
I'm reading the score as it's written. I don't transpose it. I'm reading as it is written on the score.
Yeah, but we're in the viola part, right?
Yeah, of course.
The viola part on the second.
I don't read as viola transcript. No, you don't hear me. I read as it's written on the score. I don't transpose it. It's easier to have a look.
Okay. Well, for me, it's not really easy to have a look because I read A flat, A natural, B flat, La si do re mi do in the viola part. But I think I understand what you're saying. I think I understand what you're saying. Okay. Yeah.
It's easier for everybody. Yeah, it's easier. Then when you work, you do your transposition. But I'm reading the score as it's written on the paper. Okay, it is not changing anything about the phrase, about the beating, about the idea. It's not changing anything.
Okay.
Then we have the third phrase. with the end of 12/8, then the next bar 8/8, which is a kind of variation of the first, second two phrases, and then we have 7/8, which is the end of the idea. Before the transposition quint higher by violence. And there is something very interesting here. He used Fibonacci scale only for the fuga entrance is like this. First, second entrance is quint. Fourth entrance is quint higher of the second. Sixth entrance is quint higher of fourth. And third entrance is quint lower, and so on, until number 13. It's very curious, very interesting.
Yeah,
when you know this, when you don't have, because I couldn't make the photos all the score, but if somebody has the full score, he will see. He will see.
Yeah, but I do see, for instance, that okay, the second entrance is a quinta, is a fifth higher. Sorry, quinta, fifth higher than the first. That's the violins. Then when
la mi. Fourth entrance is the lower part of the page.
Yeah.
Lower part of the page. Since number 10, it's C. So it's quint, huh? Higher.
I read on the cello entrance.
The cello entrance is the second entrance.
Cello entrance is the third entrance, and it's
from
a D.
From La of viola, lower, quint lower.
In that sense. Okay, now I understand what you're saying. Okay. Yeah, okay. Now I understand. Yes, one high, one. Okay, yeah.
It means that.
Yeah, I was looking. I was looking at the entrance before that. Yes, okay, I understand now what you're saying. Yes, that's for the whole thing. If we stay for 1 second on the first phrase, there's also one other thing that I find interesting, which is the symmetry inside the single bars. At least for the first bar,
yes,
there's between the first and the second beat, there's an actual symmetry. They're mirroring each other in terms of rhythm, and with a slight difference, of course, in terms of pitch. Then the 12/8 bar sort of takes off and comes back to the same point. There's a really organic and really logical way in which this phrase is constructed.
Yes. Yes.
Which pretty much tells you what's the inner line inside each bar, which then in turn, even if you didn't have the dotted bar lines that help you make the subdivision of the bar itself, then you would understand how the bar is subdivided and is conceived, and then you can, from that, you can derive your technique.
Yeah. So if we begin to speak about techniques, the first part, so La bemol, C, D, well, okay. Without transposition, it's easier, huh? It's in the 3. In 3.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Then the second phrase of 12/8 is in 4.
Yeah.
next 8/8 is in 3, 7/8 is in 2. The important thing to know is that all quavers are equal. The tempo is equal. It will not change, which is very difficult with the beginning of this piece because beating quavers and the phrase, make the phrase, yeah, which is begin pianissimo with viola. Can you hear the sound pianissimo viola?
Mm-hmm.
You know what does it mean?
Yeah.
It means something like this. But he wants something like this. So the gesture cannot be only 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, just mechanical. Huh? But the gesture has to show at the same time this of viola and with this regularity of beat and this. So here conductor needs to have the both techniques, this and this, or in the right hand only, or just beat here and to show this legatissimo con sordino. Can you hear the sound? It's nothing, huh? This is very important for the conductor. Means that the gesture as gesture is not enough. In the gesture, you put the character, you put the color of sound, you put the pulsation, you put the beat, you put the stroke, you put everything. So it's something global. Huh?
Yeah, I think that.
Yeah,
There are two.
yeah,
Yeah. Sorry, it's the usual delay here, and there are a couple
yeah,
of of points that are essential in hooking up for clarity of the orchestras, and from and those are the rests, the eighth notes rests. Those are the ones that where your pulse can be really clear in driving the phrase, in initiating again the forward movement of the phrase in order to drive it and not let it die, and so that it doesn't sit on itself and then just dies over there. Those are really hook points that are essential in the technique. I would take the second example because it's also very interesting in a for what we were just discussing. The second example starts at number 10. Then you also have dividers, or these dotted lines in the bass line. But if you covered the bass line, you would still be able to see, if you didn't look at the bass line, at the cellos, and only looked at the violas or the violins, the second violins, you could still see where how the bar is constructed. Now, the 12/8 for me is pretty much self-explanatory. The 8/8, by looking at the first violins, the second violins and the violas, without taking make believe that the bass line is not there, then it's a 3+3+2 in terms of its internal subdivision. And even if you look at the 7/8, then clearly you go back to a 3 on the last 3 8 notes on the last beat of the bar, which then leaves 4 8 notes in the first part of the bar. it's how I say, it's a way to train your eyes and to, you know, your brain to see where these subdivisions are, because this is what you need to, I think, as a conductor, you need to feel the inner pulse, of course, of all of these bars and their inner subdivision. Because otherwise, if you don't have it clear, and if you don't know, and if you don't feel the inner pulse of, you know, 3 plus 3 plus 2, or 1 plus 4, or whatever it is that the bar calls for, then you can't, it's impossible to drive it, and it's impossible to transmit it to the players.
I want to take an attention on the you are on the number 10, second example.
Yeah.
Okay. There is a cellos part. There is with points in the bar. Yeah. Separating.
Yeah, with the dotted lines, yes. The dotted bar lines, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Have a look. Have a look of viola and second violins part. There is no these small lines in the bar. Why? Because it is I don't know how is the name in English. It's a counter. This is a fuga. This is a real fuga. So there is huh? There is counterpoint. Yeah, this is counterpoint. So there is no points in the bar. Only on the team. Only on the team. What does it mean? What does it mean? Let's try to understand. It's very interesting. What does it mean? As you see, each part is going in with a quint higher, yeah, viola, violin, pianissimo, the same phrase. When violin's coming in the beginning, viola has no these points in the bar. What? Why? What is it? Why? So we try to understand. These kind of questions the conductor should ask to himself to understand how it is constructed inside. And then it's very easy, very, very easy to never mix up bars, 8/8, 12/8, 8/8, 7/8, with coming one after one. So you know how it is going. So even you put the score on the stand, but you play it, you just play music, you don't beat, because you understand how it's constructed inside. So you can give answers by yourself to your questions. So you try to understand. Maybe it is wrong, but it can work. Maybe Bartok doesn't thought like that, but it's not important. Conductors should understand why. So then after that, all these phrases will go like this, together, without breaking, without changing the tempo. Because when you are not sure about the score, you can change the tempo of the quaver, because there's a panic. You don't know. You must know.
No, I think that in this case, of course, I think that in this case, it's fairly straightforward to, you know, the pulse doesn't change. Whether you're in 12/8, 8/8, 7/8, 3 plus 2, 2 plus 3, doesn't matter. The pulse is always the same. There is no indication anywhere that the pulse should change, and that when you move from one meter to another, or from inside the same meter, anything should change. The pulse, the basic pulse, is constant. Otherwise, yeah, then you're really looking for trouble.
But phrases. That's what I asked the question. The phrases are different.
Yeah.
So again, the phrase is here, the gesture is here. So the conductor should negotiate both together without breaking Bartók wish, which was pianissimo, consordino, and something like this, but fast. As the water is moving, that's it, huh? It means that.
From
the gesture.
I'm sorry, what was the last thing that you said? Because I didn't get that.
Let's speak about the gesture. Let's speak about the gesture.
Let's speak about the gesture. Yes, yes, go ahead. Yes, I was actually going to that, yes.
What you wanted to say, huh? So,
yeah.
Yeah. Because before the gesture, there is something that I want to say. You can spend hours and hours on a score that you heard many, many times, and you know it by ear. But when you must conduct it, please sit on your table and patiently read the score as you hear it for the first time. Because there inside are many, many secrets that maybe when you heard, you didn't heard anything, because it's passing very, very fast. And you can choose yourself, your gesture, your ideas, your answers to your questions, and you will know better the score than musicians sit in front of you because they played it 1,000 times. Now for the gesture. I will try to show. This is. Can you see? Gian Maria, can you see?
Yeah.
Okay. So first bar. Where will it begin? Because there is an upbeat. So it means that there is how many rest you will add back the first la of viola to begin the phrase. Because maybe the music has begun already, or it will begin just on the la of viola. This is a choice. Or you do this. This, or you cannot see. Just one quaver and the la, or you do this. You cannot see, huh?
No, it's a little too out of the camera. Yeah, maybe that's better.
So, or you give one quaver viola. How many violas playing? You should know. If one quaver is enough to make them play together with this very, very soft and very close sound, or you choose to do like this. So you do 2 or 3 or 4. It depends how you feel the flow of this phrase, because everything will depend until the end of the first part from this gesture, from the first gesture. Because as you said, the quaver is egal, it never changed. Only in the middle of the piece, where is it? On the middle of the piece, there is a poco rallentando before number 65. If somebody has the score, can see. And then it's slower because there is celesta is playing many, many things. It is slower and most lyrical. And then we are finishing until the end with a quaver circa 108. So everything will depend from first gesture and the preparation of the viola part with 1, 2, 3, or 4 gesture of tempo. This is important. So it's a choice of each conductor. Means it depends how he understood and feel the music, the color of music. Because the first color of viola, consordino, I'm repeating, but it's very important. Consordino, pianissimo, and it's not high, it's going like this. So it is the choice. It means I want to say that everything is not related only of the gesture, but the gesture is a choice.
Yeah, well, the gesture, I think,
I can explain.
Yeah, the gesture is always a choice, because for me the gesture comes out of the music. So since if music makes the technique, then the gesture is always a choice that is based on a musical choice or a musical interpretation or whatever it is that you get out of a score. So that's what I was referring to earlier when I said, okay, well, then you got to see at either the end of the first bar or the end of the phrase, depending on what you choose, then your pickup bar becomes something a little different. But if I look at it, once you've made your choices in terms of phrasing, and you know how the phrase is constructed, where it is going, and blah, blah, blah. And yes, I certainly, just to, in parentheses, I certainly agree on the fact that you cannot conduct any music by ear. That is as amateurish as it gets. And I think it's really dangerous, because you end up, that's like saying, I studied with the recording. And you put a CD on or a YouTube video on, and you conduct a recording, and you think that you've studied it, but that is one of the most dangerous things that a conductor can do to learn a score, because you end up, first of all, you learn somebody else's interpretation and not your own, and second of all, you follow the recording, and once you're in front of the orchestra, you don't know how to lead it, because you're used to follow the recording, even if you think that you're leading. The recording does not follow you ever. It just keeps going. And the orchestra, you're supposed to lead the orchestra, not to follow it. So it's a really dangerous. It might look like a shortcut, but it's a really dangerous thing to do. And then especially, and you might be able to get away with these things on a Mozart symphony if you have a trained orchestra. Once you get into this type of music, it's absolutely impossible to get out of it. Now, parenthesis closed, because this is a point that I make every single time I can.
Maria, I want to say something. You said if you have a what did you say? If you have a what orchestra? Trained orchestra, you can do it. No, you cannot.
No. I didn't say you can do it. I said you can get away with it.
Yeah, but something very important. A trained orchestra, from the first 1,000th part of second, knows that the conductor will be conducted by the orchestra.
Of course. But that's what I'm saying. The trained orchestra, they'll know. They'll know the minute you enter the door. So you can get away in the sense that the orchestra will take over and will do your performance, and you'll feel like they let you pretend that you're conducting, while in fact they're not even looking at you. And because they have a certain standard, so the orchestra doesn't fall apart because the conductor doesn't know what to do. So they just go by themselves.
Yeah.
you by getting away with it, I mean that you cannot get away with the orchestra with this. So you can get away with it if you step on the podium and the orchestra plays, you know, they go by themselves and the audience doesn't notice perhaps, but the orchestra will always know. But when you get, and this I'm only talking about something like, as I said, you know, maybe a Mozart symphony, or if you have if you go on the Berlin Philharmonic, I could put my mother on it that doesn't know how to read music. The Berlin Philharmonic would go top to bottom with anything, but that's not the point. If you're a conductor, you're supposed to sit down and read and understand whatever it is on the score on the page, and then convey it to the musicians, not the other way around. And if you do that with the recording, you can't do that. It's impossible.
With Bartók, it's impossible.
It's impossible. It's
sure.
Impossible.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Sorry. Anyway, I always get carried away with this because it seems like it's a vice that that's going, yeah. You know, it's spreading like a freaking virus.
You know what? What we are saying, even it is out of the subject of the score, but it's very important because everything is. This is a big global thing, enormous, and this is very serious. And each point in this global ball must be known, must be managed by the conductor. It begins with sitting on the table, put the table on the table, the score, and read. All the time we will say it because it's important.
Yeah.
So you wanted to second part, you said second.
Yeah. Sorry.
Example.
Yes. That's right. Sorry. As I said, I tend to get carried away when it comes to this particular topic. Now, going back to where we were, I would add one question. One question that you can ask yourself as a conductor when you look at the score. When you look for, let's take this one, and the question is. There's always points in a score where the orchestra needs your attention and needs your help, or can use help, or can benefit from your help. So, and there are points where actually it's not needed. Also, that's the other side of the coin. So the question is, where does the orchestra needs my help, and where it doesn't? Because from that point, if you consider also that point of view, then automatically there are some things that you're not automatically in some points you stop beating, or you stop being that insistent with the players. You sort of, it's not like you take a step back in terms of, okay, you guys do it now, and then they just sit back and do nothing. That's not the point. But there's always a certain type of exchange, and a certain moment where you can lead, and a certain moment where you can, once the machine is going, then you can let it go on its own until they need your attention again. Otherwise, in a piece like this, for instance, if you decide to beat every single 8 notes, then you stand and do this for the whole time in the face of the players, and it sort of loses its purpose.
No, because, of course not. No, of course not. Of course not. Because for me, the beating is not just to show the stroke. Beating for me is with the beat to show the spirit of the piece, to show the phrase of the piece, to show the dynamic of the piece. And you can do it with this hand, without, or right or left hand, without the other hand, or your second hand will help something more important, to put out, for example, a phrase, put out the phrase. So when you show directly to the group, to put out the sound, they will do it, and then it's going back. It's mean you manage even when you beat. It's not a stroke. It is just, it can be, here it can be. For me, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know if you can see it. Huh?
Yeah, no, you're off camera.
It's the beat in the spirit of the music of the phrase, not just stroke, and then with the other hand you show or you don't show. For me, it's like that, and it is working because it's my way to lead the music, but not give chuck 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 chuck, and all quavers will be equal. The tempo will not change. This is a technique. It has to be worked. It is not coming like that. It means that it is a global bowl like this. So inside you manage everything, and you can help the orchestra without moving too much, without check 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 doing this. Nothing. It's just flowing together. It is a choice. It's a conductor's choice.
Of course it is. Of course it is. And I actually, I mean, I agree on the fact that, as if it wasn't clear earlier, but I do agree on the fact that it's not supposed to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just chuck 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 chuck, because that's time beating. It has nothing to do with conducting, and it does not take into, but that's a metronome. Then you put the metronome up, you put it, you set it in 1/16, and that's okay. But
they can play.
Exactly. Then that's fine. But technique wise, you have what I was trying to say earlier is that you have points inside the phrase where the orchestra needs a little more of your help with the pulse for instance, before the retake of the upbeat of each bar. But there are places other than that where this kind of gesture, for me, it's just like a chopping block, and it sort of disrupts the flow of the phrase. And that's where I think that if you're, if you have a legato click, which means that you can have a pulse inside a legato line, then it helps with a great deal for this type of music in this case specifically.
I want to propose something.
Yeah, go ahead. Yes. Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry. I want to propose something to those who are listening us. Make an exercise at home. Make an exercise. Take the first bar of this piece. It's in 3, and you show the beat, and you sing the phrase, and you hear viola pianissimo with his color and concertino. You will see your gesture will change, totally will change.
Well, of course,
and you will become.
I agree. Actually, it's a great exercise that you can practice at home Yeah, I would actually go. Yeah, I would actually also go, if you want to take it as an exercise, as a pure exercise. Let's abstract from the music itself, and let's just pretend that these are 4 bars of solfege. Then as an exercise, you can take this and it's pianissimo, and then you can take this and make it fortissimo, and then you can take this and make it staccato instead of legato, and then you can take this and make it you know, pianissimo staccato, pianissimo legato, fortissimo
With
staccato.
accents.
All combinations. Yeah, exactly. With crescendo diminuendo, with different dynamics, with all
Accents,
combinations
with
that you can
twists, with points.
yeah, that you can create. And then you see that, you know, your line can change from tira 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 tari tira pira. Even if you change tempo inside, then it's a good practice to keep the clarity, or to try different things, to exercise, to practice it at home. There is nothing there's nothing wrong with taking a piece of music and just use it for yourself as a practicing exercise, especially for conductors. It's a good way to understand and how it can work in different ways. It's a good way also to practice on the same music a different type of reaction to something that could be a different dynamic, or a different tempo, or a different articulation that's in the music itself. And then you see how your gesture actually changes from one variation to another.
Okay, that's a very good idea. But I want to add something very simple. If you want to see how your gesture is changing with all this proposition of Gianmaria, please do it in front of a mirror and look at yourself.
Or film yourself.
It's very important.
Yeah.
In front of the mirror. And you look at your gestures as the second person who is looking you. The mirror is the second person, and you look to your gestures, and you change. Ask questions. How was it? Is it clear for the orchestra? Is it not clear for the orchestra? And this is a good way to go ahead with gesture.
On the backside of that, you can also, on the backside of that, you can also do something else. You can look in the mirror and also put your phone on and record yourself, and then watch yourself as if you were a musician, a player in the orchestra. And then you can ask yourself, would I be able to play with that? Can I follow that? Is that clear? Is that not clear?
Of course.
If you do that, and you're a string player, you're an oboe player, you're a horn player, whatever it is that you're playing, you can sort of watch it as if you're not a conductor but a player, and then sort of self-correct on some things at least.
Because in front of the orchestra, you need to correct yourself. At the same time, you listen the music coming from the orchestra. You must correct your gesture. Something is not working. Why? Hop, you change it. So home, you make exercises to prepare yourself for change. This is small exercises like this, which is very, very useful. Very.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, look, we've been here for almost an hour. I would actually go to one example from Stravinsky, since we are in the in this. I would actually take the first example from Stravinsky, just because.
Okay.
Just because. This goes with what I was saying earlier. In Bartók, we had dotted bar lines that sort of indicated how the bar was subdivided internally. Now, if you take something like this, first example.
This is because of the frame.
Sorry?
These small, how do you say that? Small lines in the bar, it's to show the phrase at the same time. It's not only
exactly.
Beats.
No, of course not. But in something that, for instance, in this case, in Stravinsky, is not there. You don't have it. So there is no help in the. So you take the score.
There is.
Of course, yeah, of course there is. But there is no visual help in terms of printed in the sense of these bar lines that they're not there. So you have to work it out yourself.
Okay.
Now the point, the point in question was, how do you work it out? Let's take these two bars, for instance, or even if you just take the 5/8 bar. How do you work it out if it's 2 + 2 + 1, 2 + 3, 3 + 2, 1 + 4?
It depends. Just the 8 bar. Have a look. We have an accord, quaver, rest, an accord, quaver, rest, accord, then the bar 4/8, rest, a quaver accord, rest, a quaver accord, and the next bar is on 3/4 is the same.
Yeah, okay.
On the first and second beat. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So let's have a look of the formula. What is the formula? Forget the bar, 5/8, 4/8. Forget it. What is the formula? Formula is accord, rest, accord, rest, accord, rest, accord, rest, accord, rest, accord, rest. Means that we have something very regular. Chuck, 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 chuck. It's finished like that. This is the phrase. So, means that it must be so clear as a stroke on the accord with 4 piano. So clear, and so clear must be the rest without any resonance. Cha, 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 like this. Because up, they are singing with Russian syllables, with their accents, which are different as the language is different. And the accents are not the same what piano are playing. Ta, 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 ta. Huh? They are singing one by one and word by word. So, how can be the gesture to have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 3, 4, 6, 7 accords? I made a choice. I think it's as you see on the score. I made 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1. Yeah, it can be like that because I made the choice. I have no problem, technical problem, to make this 1, 2, 2, 2, 1, and then 2, 2. I have no problem. If there is a problem that you are not sure to keep the tempo and the strong sound, this, you change the gesture. But there is something very important. If you do it with 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, it becomes something that you cannot manage about the character. Is sforzando in a forte, sforzando, and it is short. Because in the tempo is very fast. So you choose, that's why I choose 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. I did it.
I'm sorry, but can you just stand back and show it, because we couldn't see it because you are off camera, like basically.
1, did you see? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2. It's to have, because I won't have these accords on place without resonance and very secco, like this. And there is 1, 2, 3, 4 pianos playing, 4 pianos, instruments, Q with big Q. So the sound is like this.
Yeah, for me the sound is short, and it actually calls for a very short rebound on the gesture. Pa pa pa.
Yeah,
pa.
Yeah, but as there is 4 pianos, yeah, they must play together as a block, like this. So the gesture cannot show only accords, but must show also rest.
Of course.
Cha, cha, like this. Huh? Of course. And the singer's part is written 1,
at least
2, 3,
for the
4,
second
5,
bar.
1, 2. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
5, 8. It's written 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But the conductor has to know which part are important here, which are keeping the character of the piece. And then singers will not slow it down, can sing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Chak, 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 chak. That's when I make the choice to do 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. So I can do this. One hand, I can show 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. With the other one, I can show the stroke.
Yeah.
So at the same time, I have my wrist, very clearly my wrist. That's why I did it.
That's an interesting solution.
Then the bar 4, 8, 2, 4, it's in 2. But not in 2 like this. Cannot be, because it's the same spirit than the 5, 8. There are strokes. So the gesture must be so secco of the bar 2, 4, 5, 8. Sorry, 4, 8, 2, 4. So secco that we can hear rest and stroke. Rest and stroke. This is difficult, very difficult, and this is the Bartok has to be practiced in front of the mirror. The other thing that this can be conducted like this. I don't know if you can see like this, but with moving this, you can lose the hard sound. It can become something with resonance in the space, which the conductor has to think about that. If you do the gestures very like this, with raised only, you can have the sound.
Now there you go.
See how the gesture.
There you go. That's exactly right. Because the second bar, the 5, also the 5, 8, but in the second bar is especially important for one reason, because everybody except for the singers, but everybody else, the chords are all playing off the beat. So in this type of very percussive music, and without the wrist, I think you're completely lost, because then it becomes impossible to it becomes not impossible perhaps, but really confusing to follow. So, and there's an example. I mean, this is an example. You have examples in the Rite of Springs. You have example all over the places for these type of configurations, right? And that's what I'm saying. If you have if you have something like this is really not going to help anybody. It's gonna need a very short rebound from the wrist, as you were pointing out, because otherwise it's it's not going to be together.
There's something. The conduct this piece, these hard places, which needs to be very vertical, chuck, 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 like this. It's better to use only this here, because it's very short.
Yeah.
And you cannot lose the time, and you can put all the inner energy here, and you can put all the hard sound inside.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you do it with this, you are lost, because it will become something very. Yeah, you can do it in the beginning of Bartok, because the phrase is like this.
I totally agree.
But not here. Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. All right, listen. This has been, again, a very interesting discussion, and we'll see what everybody thinks about this, if they have other questions, of course, and maybe we can.
Is there questions?
No, not at the moment.
Questions?
There are no questions. No, not at the moment. But I'm saying that if questions will come up later, then we can answer them in another session, or in the comments in the group, and so forth. And maybe we can have another round next time about something else, depending on the feedback that.
Can we, Gian Maria? Can we speak about the third example? It will be very short.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. It's on screen now. Yes.
Third example. So we have a bar 2/8, 2/8, 2/4, a 4/8, 2/4. It's not important. 5/8, and then 5/8, 2/4. Here, unfortunately, I couldn't make the photo of the full score of the full part. But if anybody has a score, please have a look. Pa 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 pi pa 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 pa. Sorry. There is 3, 5, 1 quavers. And then singer is continuing a new phrase. Look, the part or piano parts is finishing at the beginning of number 68, and then timpani and voice are going through. Yeah. So this second bar of 5/8, how can it be? I should finish the phrase, then begin another 5/8. How could it be? The tempo is the crochet 120. I have one problem. I must finish the phrase, first phrase, and then begin the second, because it says very clear, like this.
Yeah.
What I do, I will tell you what I do. It's 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Because I finish the first phrase, and in the second, as the text is very interesting, he put accent on the third quaver. But it is not important. The important thing is to finish the first phrase. So I do that. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. I do this because I can do it. I don't move. I can do it. And this was these things. Even with my experience, I am studying the gesture, because the gesture must be very clear, very short, very short, and your brain must know that you must continue as 2, 4. You see?
Yeah, yeah.
It's just the contrary what we saw before. It's just the contrary. There was 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1. You see, it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1.
Yeah, it's yeah. Obviously, it's one of those. It's not the first one. I mean, it's the first one that we see here, but it's not the first example in the history of music where you have a phrase that ends and another one can at the same time begins on the same in the same bar, right? So this is always a matter of choice on how to connect the two phrases together and how to react. Of course, in this case, it makes it a little more complicated. Perhaps the fact that you have to switch from one meter to another, and then the phrase is also an extra accent in it. So obviously, it makes an impact on the overall conception of the phrase itself. But yeah, I agree. Yes. Okay. All right.
So this is another example. What I wanted to say that a bar 5/8 can be beaten different sort. It depends what is the phrase, what is the idea, and
Of
so
course.
on and so on. So there is not only one way to do it.
No, no, absolutely not. And you know, it often depends. I mean, if you in this 5/8 bars, for instance, if I'm just looking at the singer's part, now, if there was no text, so if you didn't know where the accents of the language of the text are, then this could be 2 plus 3. Pa, 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 pa. If you look at the text, then it becomes a little different. Ta, 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 ta. It's the same 5/8 bars. It can be read in two different ways. Now, in this case, the text comes into place, so then it becomes fairly easier to understand where the logical accent is. Now, also, if you just looked at the second and the third line, then you would probably you could consider ta 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 ta, or you could consider pa 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 pam. In split in that way. It can vary, but it's part of the fun.
There is something very important. This is in Russian.
Yeah.
So the Russian has his accents, his pronunciation of how can I say the time of pronunciation of each syllable. And here he used it equal. So, but there is an accent on the bar 8/5. It's ta 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 ta. It's with accents. Huh? Of course, everybody doesn't speak Russian. Everybody doesn't know Russian, but you can ask to someone who knows Russian.
You should.
They can
if
help
you don't, then you should.
This is very,
you should.
Of course. So you can, with this, you can also see how it is written, and you choose your gesture.
Yeah.
And the music is going on. The tempo is fast. Whoever 120.
Yeah. Indeed it is. All right. Well, thank you very much, Enver, for keeping me company. This, Saturday,
Thank you very much, you too.
And for talking about
Thank
some
you
music.
very much to you too. Yeah.
And well, I'm sure that everybody will enjoy this. Who hasn't followed it yet will enjoy this, and you know, we look forward to another one of these talks. These talks are.
Tell me one and what.
Sorry.
Okay, I said, tell me what and why.
Yeah. And yeah, we'll do it again. Yes. All right. Thanks a lot. Then you have a nice evening and have a nice day, everybody. And thanks for joining. And I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.